Against the Spurs last night, but the story was still Victor Wembanyama, who was ejected in the second quarter after throwing an elbow at the jaw of Naz Reid. Wemby was flagged for a flagrant 2 foul. He was ejected. At that point, when he was ejected, the Wolves were up by 2. They went on to win the game. The series is now tied up at 2 games apiece. Here was Mitch Johnson on Wemby.
Every single play on every single part of the floor, people are trying to impose their physicality on him. I get it. We get it. That's part of the game. He's gotten chucked, he's gotten pushed down in transition, running freely, all the stuff. He doesn't complain one time. We don't complain because we're just going to play. We don't really give a excuse my language. But at some stage, he should be protected. And if not, he's going to have to protect himself. And unfortunately, stuff like that happens. It's starting to get actually disgusting just in terms of when he tries to fight through things and be professional and mature and deal with some of that stuff. I'm glad he took matters into his own hands. Again, not in terms of hitting Naz Reid, but let me be very clear about that. I'm glad Naz Reid was okay, but he's going to have to protect himself if they're not. And I think it's disgusting.
Okay. Does Mitch Johnson have a point, Jay?
Yeah. Yeah, he has a point. Look, maybe it's because I'm cut from an old school cloth in basketball. I've had over 28 stitches in my face. I've gotten bowled before from bigs and from guards. And granted, it hasn't come in playoff basketball, KP, but you know what happened when I got bowled in the face? One time by Shaq. My ass never went down there no more. I thought twice about it every time I went down there. I'm not condoning Wemby's actions, but I do think that sometimes we forget because of how sensitive our society is and how everything has to be catered to and extra delicate and you know, it was the wrong thing for him to do because he jeopardized his team. Yeah, he did. They got to win. They were up 2-1, and now Minnesota believes they can get a win, even though Minnesota had a chance to lose that game down the stretch without Wemby on the court. But at some point, as a grown man or as a player, you got to draw a line for yourself. And I'm not saying that it's automatically going to lead to Naz Reid not continuing to do that, but, Shaq did stuff like this. Michael Jordan did stuff like this. Isaiah Thomas did stuff like this. We had some of the best players in the game who had a nasty side to them because sometimes the moment called for it. So I'm not going to sit up here on national TV and tell y'all that, yeah, Mitch Johnson's wrong because, honestly, I believe he's right. Now, I don't want to see Wemby do that again and subject himself to being suspended from a game or multiple games. He has to be smart. But at some point, when you're getting pushed around all the time and you're getting punked, you're going to stand up for yourself. And I'm damn right happy he stood up for himself in the moment.
He's right. He's right. Jay, how's he's right? Give me a time throughout the course of this series that have we witnessed Wembanyama get a flagrant foul, meaning somebody hit him hard enough where they had to go review it. Name me one time. Name me one time.
That doesn't.
You can't. Don't even think. No. Hold on.
Are you asking me a question? Because if you ask me a question, I can engage back with you, brother.
Engage.
I'm trying to. Just because people don't call flagrant fouls doesn't mean that the game isn't physical or there aren't things. KP, you've done a lot of things. I watch you play basketball. I studied tape of you. You've done a lot of things that weren't called for flagrant fouls.
That's fine.
But it doesn't mean that things weren't physical. Or you didn't see things inside the reins of fire that other teams didn't? What do you mean?
Okay, so Jay, let me ask you something. If Wemby is a center, right? Mm-hmm. He is a center, right? Mm-hmm. So you expect inside the paint that it's going to be some level of physicality. It's going to be some level of ruffling and getting your feet hot. You're going to tangle up with guys. Smaller guys are going to sit on your legs when they switch out. It's part of the game. I didn't know that was against the rules. I didn't know when you go up for a layup, you try to, give a person a nice hard foul. Wemby hasn't been a saint. Let's not act like Wemby don't initiate a lot of contact when he's running and he's sealing for low post position. I mean, come on now. What are we talking about? Like, this is part of it. You're 7'7". You don't think that you're not going to get hit?
KP.
How many times we witnessed a LeBron James or Dwayne Wade get hit? What are we talking about, Jay?
KP.
I think that was a very, what's up?
You've had over 100 technical fouls in your career, brother. I would think if there's a person who was used to living in the trenches, if there's a person who sometimes felt slighted, if there was a person who sometimes did what he had to do that called for the moment, out of all the people on this show, I thought you would understand.
Understand what? I understand the level of physicality. Jay, let me tell you something. It was a moment where it was myself, Kevin Garnett, and Rasheed Wallace on the same squad. We led the damn league in technical fouls. It ranked 1, 2, and 3. And Doc Rivers, they asked Doc Rivers about, hey, Doc, can you stop Perk and KG and Rasheed from getting technical fouls? And you know what Doc said? No, that's who the hell they are. That's their identity. And it ain't coming out of my pocket when they get fined. I don't like those comments at that moment from Miss Johnson. I do not agree with that. Wemby has to know that this is going to come. He's 7'7". The only way teams can try to get into him is by frustrating him and getting physical with him. No other way around it.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Go ahead, S.A.
Mitch Johnson was making a valid point as a head coach for Victor Wembanyama coaching in the NBA playoffs. His timing was awful. You can't say that after what happened yesterday. Wemby had no business doing what he's doing. To quite honestly, if the NBA suspended him for Game 5, we wouldn't be surprised. You can't put yourself in that position. It's just that simple. I get what you're saying, Jay, and it makes total sense from a macro perspective. And Mitch Johnson, the coach, who I think is outstanding, said what he said. I got it from a macro perspective. No, that's micro. That happened yesterday. In the immediate aftermath of the game, you can't be talking like that. You should have said it beforehand. And that's not to say he didn't. Maybe we didn't see it, and maybe he said it on numerous occasions, and maybe it wasn't aired. I don't know. But I do know this. You don't have that argument yesterday. Wemby winded up and flailed his right elbow. It was clearly a flagrant 2. It was an automatic ejection. Everybody knows he had no business doing that. And in his heart of hearts, he knows he had no business doing that. You're 7'5", and you're that skinny. People are going to try to chop you down. That is true, Jay, because there's no other way to deal with it because you're so damn tall, and in his case, so damn skilled. It's like, my God, the one thing that they do have to their advantage is a level of physicality because of how slim he is compared to the rest of the guys. But in the end, there's no getting around that you can't do something like that. The coach knows it, the players know it, he knows it, which is why he walked up in a classy way. He didn't sit up there and resist it or anything like that. He walked off the court. But you're the coach in the aftermath of that, and you're going off about the officiating. You know what? That's tone deafness. As far as I'm concerned, if you're the officials, you're not trying to give them any breaks, even more so now, because that's not the time to make that argument. You know, presentation matters. Timing matters with presentation. You got to know when to say some of the things that you want to say and when to refrain. Maybe when they come down with the ruling and they say it's a fine instead of a suspension, it would have been nice for Mitch Johnson to say it then. But to say it in the immediate aftermath of a playoff game in which your player was ejected and he's potentially is looking at a suspension, for him to open his mouth and say it like that, we all know the only reason if Wembanyama doesn't get suspended, we all know the reason for that will be because he's Victor Wembanyama and everybody in the world wants to see him play. That might save him, but the play itself warrants not just an ejection, but a suspension for Game 5.
Okay,
Suspension for game.
we're gonna leave that here because I have the same reaction.
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
But
gonna
what's
leave this
surprising?
here. We'll come back to the
Run this
suspension
back,
a little
Shay.
bit. What'd you say?
Yeah,
Run
run
it
this
back.
back.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to it. We'll talk about the suspension more
Run this
later.
back.
As for right now, that was Wemby's first career ejection. Keep that in mind. Still to come here on First Take. The Thunder have been